Hiya folks, it's your boy and we are back with another reaction video. It's been a while since we've done one of these and I don't plan on making a habit out of doing them. Not something I want to do too often on this channel. However, this video seems to have captured the collective imagination of America, and I think it has something interesting to say, for better or worse. I've not actually seen the song beginning to end. My mistake is that I logged into Facebook and I saw people debating this song. So as far as my exposure goes, I've seen some lines clipped out of it, but I've not listened to the song from beginning to end. I decided to reserve it for this because I thought this would be an interesting conversation to have. It's a country song, and it's kind of a hit. That's fascinating in itself because in 2023, actually just in like post 9/11, like after the post 9/11 cash grabs just sucked up all the money that they could, country music has been in a bit of a lull when it comes to like its hit making potential. Doesn't really make a lot of like hits that cross over. It's sort of just in its own little bubble. And that is what it is. But I find it really interesting anytime something sort of escapes that bubble. The last thing I remember doing that, and I'm probably missing some prominent examples, but I remember when the former lead singer of Stained, the nu metal band, he has a country career, and he put out Am I the Only One? Not brainwashed. And that song made the rounds. It ended up like Fox News featured him and all that. And this song has gotten sort of a similar treatment. It's been touted by, I believe, Ben Shapiro. I know Matt Walsh definitely did. So it sort of makes me a little skeptical, like how astroturfed is this? Is this like a genuine groundswell sort of thing? When I see the debates on Facebook, it looks like, okay, there do seem to be some people who are genuinely enamored with this song. More so than the Aaron Lewis song, the guy from Stained. That one seemed like really just pushed on people. Like it didn't actually have any sort of genuine following. Maybe I'm wrong, but this one actually does seem to have a lot more real enthusiasm to it, which is exciting. So we're going to give it a little listen. This might be chopped to hell. Reacting to music is sort of a messy thing that I always avoided on the channel in the past. You never know what's going to happen with like copyright claims or whatever. I'm just going to not monetize this and see what happens. Let's get started. Let's see what Oliver Anthony has to say in Rich Men North of Richmond.
Well, I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away.
I actually really like this, so I'm going to pause as I go throughout the song, like line by line sort of thing. Like the old way I used to react. So if that's not the reaction video you're looking for, that's not what you're getting here. He's actually opening in a very, very strong way, really leaning into the working class element that makes a lot of country really charming. The thing is, a lot of the most disingenuous country really leans into stuff like trucks and beer and doing all it, and really dumbs it down. And country is supposed to be sort of inherently simple. It works when it really caters to the working class, but having this underlying sadness that is so relatable to the working class, like that's a great start. That's a great start to like a sincere country song.
It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just
It's
wake
uniting.
up and it not be true.
People
But
like
it
me,
is.
people like you.
Oh, it is living in the new world with a an old soul.
Living in the new world with an old soul. That's an interesting line. I'm not sure entirely what that means. I think it definitely reflects a certain element that is ever present in conservatism, sort of a skepticism of change, which can be healthy. I think there is a certain degree of conservatism. While I am probably not on the same political wing as this dude, change isn't always good. Change isn't always bad. Sometimes when you feel like you're an old soul in a world that's passing you by, sometimes the world has to change because your world was not perfect. It does have to change with the times. It doesn't mean it's not isolating and that it doesn't feel there's a natural cognitive dissonance that comes from the whole situation that I'm sure a lot of people can find relatable, and that's kind of nice.
These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men north of Richmond.
Oh, I love it. I love rich men north of Richmond as like a literary device. It uses homophones, which is really cool. A homophone is when you say something that sonically sounds like you're saying the same thing, but they're different words. Rich men north of Richmond. If I said rich men twice, it would still rich men north of Richmond. Rich men more north of Rich. Which one am I saying? I don't know. It's like let me think of a bar. It's like I'm feeling sick looking at you. I'm looking at you, but also I am doing the act of sneezing at you. That's a homophone. And I love homophones. As somebody who grew up listening to a lot of rap music, I got really interested in like literary devices like that. So that's an easy way to win my heart, Oliver Anthony, and you're doing a decent job there if you keep this coming. But we have these rich people, presumably in DC, that want to control you. They want to know what you think, know what you do, and they want control seemingly for the sake of having control. That's an interesting element that I think is ever present in a lot of conservative minds. Explaining the desire for power from the government as just power for the sake of power. I don't necessarily agree with that, and I don't necessarily think that's sufficient for explaining the power-hungry nature of politicians, at least not all of them. Some of them, it might just be power for the sake of power. But that is a common sentiment among conservatives and plenty of liberals as well. Many may subscribe to power for the sake of the power for the sake of power as an explanation. Though I think it always goes a layer deeper than that. I don't think power for the sake of power is the best explanation most of the time, but also it's like a 3-minute country song. I don't expect him to go into a dissertation. There's
politicians
a charm to this.
look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got.
Ooh. He used another homophone. Also, the Epstein thing, I assume, is where he's going with that. But minors, they're different words, but they sound sonically the same. Guy used 2 sets of homophones essentially back to back. God, Oliver Anthony, the greatest lyricist of our generation, I suppose. What can you say?
Not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well,
class solidarity is so important. Okay. I will take this from two different angles here. Firstly, there is something very genuine in the sentiment that he is putting out here. Often the working class and middle class and just working poor, all that, will feel a sort of resentment towards those who they don't deem are pulling their weight, or will attack all sorts of other groups that are not above them, but are horizontal to them class-wise or beneath them. These are people who don't have a lot of power. And in a song that up until this point has been very unifying, it's a little disappointing that he takes the time to go after obese people on welfare who fundamentally do not have that much power, and however much money they are getting from taxes, it's a drop in the bucket compared to like what we put into the military industrial complex, the thing that politicians will never actually question. Though the one thing is, like, he's attacking something that is just not fundamentally important by comparison to it's not that important to ordinary working class people, but we're under the impression that other have-nots are often the source of our issues. Today, people attack trans people who genuinely do not have like that much political power. We attack immigrants who genuinely do not have power over our financial institutions and stuff. Like, oh, we're hiring an immigrant when we could have hired an American. Whose fault is that? Do you really think it's smart to attack the immigrant who's coming in just trying to get by, instead of attacking the haver, the person who has a lot, who decides, I'm going to hire an immigrant for slave wages so that I don't have to hire an American for a reasonable wage? They're the ones who are undercutting your wages. They're the ones who are systematically hiring people who they can pay slave wages to, fighting to pull back child labor laws for the same reason, and fighting to outsource jobs. But let's just attack horizontally, or like punch down at the obese person on welfare. I'm not saying there aren't people who do that. It just feels like a waste of time. Class solidarity is so important. I'm a labor leader. I'm the president of my local labor union. I understand to at least a little bit of a degree how much can get done having class unity. It's just a little disappointing there, because people are going to latch on to that line and be like, yeah, they're the problem. They are such a small problem. The amount of problem that they are is insignificant compared to the wealthy. And you've given some drive-bys at the wealthy, but stay on topic, man. You got it. Because you're so close. We are so close. Like, you're probably on the right. I'm really far to the left, but we're almost touching tips right now. It's kind of crazy.
God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down.
You're kicking other people that are already down. That's what I'm saying. Like, you created this divide. We have the have-nots. You've created a divide between us. You've decided these are the have-nots that are worth kicking down. I don't know, if Hank down the street you think is exploiting welfare, that's one thing. But when you're making this big statement about, like, we're being exploited, you should probably talk about the exploiters. What he's doing is, like, really safe. Oh yeah, let's attack the 300-pound guy. I know I'm getting on this for a little bit. It's only frustrating because he's so close. He's so close to, like, I actually genuinely like this song. But there's just that little element of he's just not getting it yet. But he's so close.
Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and then I don't think you know, but I know that you do, cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, cause the rich men, north of rich men.
And the element of, like, your dollar not meaning anything. Like, we have, like, property prices are going up. It's hard to find a place to live. My generation is very likely not gonna ever be able to own a house, like, on a large scale. Like, some of us will be fortunate enough, but so many of us will not. I can't get a new apartment. I am currently struggling with that right now, to get, like, a new apartment that isn't completely dilapidated. Like, I feel it. Like, I'm there with you, maybe. I don't know. Are you rich? I don't know if this is like a working class guy who just got his big break, or if he was already doing well or not. I couldn't tell you, but what he's speaking to does, in a way, speak to... Look at this. Caller X-Men north of Richmond. Sorry, this closed captions are ready. I think that's the end, right? It's probably just instrumental for the end. Oh, here we go. Hold on. We got an outro.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
There is fundamentally something so relatable about the song. And I see why it resonates. Like, genuinely populist. And when I say I'm disappointed in how it, like, punches horizontally or punches down rather than actually taking on the problems, this is not abnormal, though. This is what a sentiment that a lot of people have. They get caught up in attacking each other. This is why the working class can't get together. We get caught up in attacking each other and blaming each other for problems that aren't fundamentally coming from one another. There are problems that come from the working class. I'm not saying the working class is perfect. It's made up of people, and people are imperfect. But the amount of damage done by a fat guy on welfare compared to the amount of damage done by the billionaire boss who exploits workers is just not even close. And the fact that he talks about, like, rich men north of Richmond, like, it's so easy to crap on politicians when the song, to really be a perfect working class anthem, which it is so close to, it actually does have to address capitalism. It has to address not just power that comes from the government, but the power that comes from having so much more than the people at the bottom, that you can influence the system, that you can essentially own people's lives. Like, this song is attacking politicians, but it doesn't attack, like, the fascist in the workplace, because that's what the workplace is. It's without, like, unions and stuff. It's a totalitarian regime that we sort of just accept because in the United States we lean so heavily into things like ownership. You build a system so big that you can essentially own your employees. It's gross, but it's what we've come to accept. And until we can actually address that, people don't like the term regulation. People don't like terms like socialism, collectivization, but, like, we're in the midst of, like, an incredible labor movement. And I do think this sort of populist energy would be very helpful if it were directed towards people who are actually causing the problems. The song is a bop, though.